Mountain, Island, Lightning Bolt, Spell Pierce, Switchblade, Stab Wound, Red Mage, Blue Mage.
Why are you closing your eyes?
I'm like getting ready. I'm just trying to be calm and not get angry at you or at anything and just relax.
What's the point of the show if that's what happens?
I'm
What's the point of you if that's what happens?
I am trying to become something greater than what I once was.
Trying to ascend?
Trying to ascend. No, I just ate 2 burgers and I'm tired.
I'm just falling asleep with my eyes closed.
Exactly. Well, it's better than with my eyes open, maybe.
I mean, better for you maybe. Your eyes won't dry out. But then you could fool me into thinking you're paying attention. That actually would explain a lot about our friendship.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to be mean to you.
All right. Keep track at home, listeners. I wanted a meanness count at the end of this podcast. We'll tweet it out like we always do. I want to see your meanness counts as comments. How many times was Amber mean to me in today's podcast?
It'll be 0.
Maybe I'll try to keep track of it in the actual podcast. I'll have a little ding going off every time you're a piece of shit to me.
I predict that it'll be 0 because I can see into the future.
Oh, nice segue.
Yeah, you see that?
That was
you
really
see
good.
That, Kenny? Oh,
unfortunately, we have to introduce the show. So.
Oh, everybody knows by now.
It's like, Red Mage, Blue Mage. I'm Kenny. I play blue.
I'm Amber. I play red. It's about 40 episodes. I should know by now.
Yeah, but we got new listeners are coming in all the time. You got to be thinking about them too.
Did I say I'm Amber and I play blue? I mean, I'm Amber and I play red.
This is what happens when you try to calm down before the show starts.
God, I'm all off my game now.
Actually, it's good that you're in blue, because blue is a color for seeing into the future. See, now I have to make a good segue here.
Whatever. Let's just get into it.
Okay.
Welcome to the future. The future of magic.
Woo, woo, woo.
Ooh, creepy. Sinister. Did you like my laugh there at the end?
Yes. I'm being nice.
I heard you had to physically restrain yourself on that one. So, this is a new segment. I don't even know if it'll be an ongoing segment, really. There's just something I wanted to talk about, and I can see us coming to the same idea later on. So, Future Sight, which is the name of this segment, is where we are speculating about something in the future of Magic and trying to make some bold predictions about what will happen.
Yes, I'm ready to be bold.
Okay, that's good. Time of recording, we just had announced to us the fall 2019 set, just called Throne of Eldraine. And we know not a ton about it. We've got some art images. We have a vague, a pretty good idea of what kind of set it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I sent you an article because you're like, I don't know anything.
Well, first off, before you make that claim, what I did know about potential future thing was that Mark Rosewater has been wanting this for a really long time. And also that it was Western themed. Now, my brain took Western theme.
Like, yeehaw!
Yeehaw, cowboys. And I got really excited because I was like, if I had a Wild Wild West set, I think I pretty much... It would just seal the deal for me for Magic. Like, Magic is the best game. It's already the best game, but it's going to be like...
It will never be topped after this.
Yeah, if they had a Wild West theme. Because if we had cowboy goblins, I would...
Well, you'd be done.
I would be in a different plane of existence.
Yeah.
I would go to that plane.
Yeah. You would wish for that plane to exist.
Yes.
You'd go stumbling into wardrobes trying to find the Goblin Mr. Tumnus.
We would have a flashback to
Howdy, ma'am. Welcome to Narnia.
I was kind of ready to tell you a great story. Look at you being mean and interrupting me this time. Anyway, what I was going to say was flashing back to when I was 10 years old and praying for Pokemon. That would be me now. 30 years old praying for the Goblin Cowboy plane. Okay,
Goblin Cowboy Magic plane.
Does scolding you count as being mean to you?
I'll let the listener decide. Also, me keeping track in the podcast. So, Yeah, probably.
I wasn't. He was being mean and interrupting me. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Okay, so yes, instead we have Throne of Eldraine, and I'm quoting this from an article on .esports. They say, the first look at Throne of Eldraine is here, and it's full of knights, courts, and a lady in the lake. So the entire idea of Throne of Eldraine, it's a top-down design set, which means they start with like an idea of what this world is and build cards to represent that world rather than starting with mechanics and building a world around it. So this is first thing, I guess, prediction wise. Oh, this is hardly a prediction at all. I feel this set will be very similar to Innistrad, not in tone, obviously. This is going to be a lot lighter than Innistrad, which was all gothic horror. This is going to be like Innistrad in that they're going to start with these tropes like the werewolf, the mad scientist, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and they're going to build cards that are supposed to very tightly resemble that. I think this is going to be a very flavorful set, I think.
Because it's all based around, like, fairy tales, like Grimm's fairy tales and
fables.
Yeah, and fables.
And Arthurian legend, I think, is going to figure
Play a
heavily
role in
into
that.
it. Yep.
So, thinking about fairy tales and stuff, what would be like a fairy tale that you would want to see in this set, that you would hope to see in a set, or also maybe would be your favorite fairy tale?
So, full disclosure, you asked me this earlier this week, so I would have time to think about it a little bit.
Yes.
And I went to, I was having trouble just kind of like listing fairy tales in my head that like stood out to me. So I went to Wikipedia and just did list of fairy tales.
Yeah.
It is a huge, massive fucking list.
It is
like, you are scrolling forever just to get out of the A's. There's so many fairy tales. And so many really weirdly named fairy tales. It's like the boy who lost his pinky finger in a bet and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot because, like, for my master's program, we had to do so part of my master's program, we also had to like learn audio stuff and audio editing because instructional designers, storytelling is a huge part in teaching. And we had to pick a fairy tale and narrate it in like I think it was like less than 3 minutes. We could edit it and cut it the way we wanted to. We could shorten it, whatever.
But you had 3 minutes to do it.
We had like 3 minutes to tell a fairy tale, but also add like sound effects and stuff to it. It was really fun. I did voices and everything. And yeah, I was going through the list of, it was ridiculous.
So
and
long.
the Western, like Grimm's fairy tale, but like in that same vein, like so many.
And it's funny, like the classic fairy tales that people know, the Grimm's fairy tales, it makes up such a tiny percentage of. I mean, it's kind of it's surprising, and it probably shouldn't be. Like fairy tales are like inherent in every culture, so of course there's a lot of them. But anyway, so I was looking through all of them, trying to figure out which ones I liked. Honestly, like as far as like this type of story that they want to tell, like the Arthurian legend, Camelot, Merlin, all that stuff, I really loved. Because you and I were talking about earlier this week, and we were talking about a miniseries that you really liked. It reminded me of a miniseries that I really liked. I liked the, I think it was on NBC, the Merlin with Sam Neill.
I didn't get to watch a lot of them. I think I only watched like 3 or 4 episodes.
I really liked it. I really liked that telling of that legend. But the honest answer that I figured out as I was looking at that list is the Three Little Pigs would be my honest answer of favorite fairy tale. And it's for nostalgia reasons only. We had to, when I was in, what would it have been? I think first grade. I want to say first grade. We had this activity that we did where they told us the story of the Three Little Pigs. And you were given this little sheet of paper that was shaped like a bag. I don't remember why. But you're supposed to give advice to one of the characters in the story. And, a lot of kids of course, everybody in the class gives advice to the first and the second little pig. Here's what you do. Here's what you need to do to... and mine was advice to the big bad wolf. And it said, don't mess with the third little pig. And my parents loved that so much. Like, I think my teacher, called and was like, you got to have this, like, and gave it to him. Dad took it to his place of work. He laminated it. They put it. It's still in a safe deposit box somewhere. And so Three Little Pigs just has a very special place in my heart for that reason. Not really applicable for magic, but...
Sure. Well, if you're going to share that story, because it's pretty indicative of your, nature and personality, let me tell you my childhood fairy tale story.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to say it was like second or third grade, so I must have been like, I don't know, 8 years old or so. Maybe like 7, 8. And we had just got done reading The Princess and the Pea.
Gotcha.
And I was into it. It was like, how did she feel that pea under all those mattresses? And wow,
did you experiment with it?
Hold on. Just so happens, for lunch that day, served in the cafeteria, was a side dish of peas. And me being me, was like, hey guys, look. And I took one pea and I put it under my butt and I go, oh! And I squashed it with my ass. And
not under anything? You just sat on it?
Not under anything. I just sat on it. And then it proceeds to be, hey guys, watch. I wonder how many more peas I can feel. And I just kept sitting on and crushing peas with my child butt.
Were you getting laughs? Is that why you proceeded
Yes,
forward?
I was getting laughs for it. And then I got in trouble for it and had to help the janitor clean up. And then, like, we had, like, marks for being nice and good.
You get him taken away?
I got like a sad bear or whatever it was for the week because I was squishing
peas with your butt. Well, I hope to see a card like that in Throne of Eldraine. Butt squisher.
So, but that's not my favorite fairy tale.
Okay.
My favorite fairy tale is actually one of those ones that a lot of people don't really, I don't think people know very well. Maybe people do. I don't know. For me, it's the 12 Princesses. Excuse me, the 12 Dancing Princesses. It's one I actually picked for my master's project that I was telling you about.
Okay.
So basically, it's this king has these 12 princesses, and every night he locks them up in a room, but every morning he sees that their shoes are completely worn out, like they were out doing stuff. And he's like trying to figure out what happened. And so this soldier's like, well, I can help figure out, but if I figure out, I get to marry one of your beautiful daughters. Ugh, fairy tales. So the soldier ends up...
So he solves it 12 times and marries all of them.
No. So he ends up... I can't remember if he had, like, invisibility cloak. Some stories might have that. Some things he has another way to do. I can't remember. But he's able to sneak in and sees them go into, like, a trap cellar. Like, a magical door opens up in their room somehow. They go down. They travel to this different realm. And... they go across a boat to a castle, and they dance all night long. And he follows them, and there's three different forests as they travel, and one's like made of silver, one's made of gold, and like the tree branches.
Okay.
And he takes each one for evidence. And it's just a very, like, I remember as a kid or reading that about the branches being like, oh my god, gold branches. Shit.
I want that.
I was a very stupid child.
You're very materialistic anyway.
Yeah. And then he like gets it back and he shows the king everything. And there's more to it, but it's I really liked it because it was like this whole like, what is this realm and this cool otherworldly place like a fairy realm. Anyway, so that's my favorite one, and I would love to see that actually in Eldraine because they could do a creature type princess.
You would love that too.
I would love that. That would be so cool, especially if like they're badass princesses.
That would be very cool.
Yes, goblin princesses.
Do they have? I'm gonna look something up really quick.
Yes, because they have creature type knights.
Well, I mean, obviously they've had kings and stuff and queens. I'm wondering what creature types they have. Brimaz, king of Ereskos, he's a cat soldier. That's because he's modeled after Leonidas. Darian, king of Cheldor, human soldier. Goblin king, just a goblin. So it looks like they don't currently have that creature type.
That'd be cool.
Maybe, is this your first bold prediction?
Maybe, yeah, they should have a different creature type.
Yeah.
That a changeling can be a princess.
You could be a sliver princess.
There you go.
That's pretty good. I mean, that could happen. Like, they, again, in Innistrad, they did something weird with creature types that they had never done before. They made human like an important creature type. Like always previous is just incidentally you were a human. In Innistrad, they made it important to be human or non-human because that fit with Gothic like your humanity was important. That's why there are no elves in Innistrad because it's all about humanity versus monstrosity.
Sure.
So I can see them doing something like that.
So this is all princesses and knights and kings and queens.
Speaking
cool.
of creature type, one thing, this is not a prediction, this is something that we know already. There are no fairies in Throne of Eldraine.
That is misleading when you do your promo art with fairies on it.
Yeah, so the promo thing was like, it looked like an invitation that you might get from a castle. And if you open it up, the only art at all are these fairies flitting around. And everybody was like, fairies!
Including me!
Yes, and including a lot of people who like invest in Magic. Apparently a lot of people spent a lot of money buying fairies when they saw that announcement, and now they're just out some money. Which, I mean, that's speculation. But it's so funny, like, I saw a tweet to the effect of, I think it's from Saffron Olive. He said something like, I really enjoy it, or maybe, I can't remember who it was. But anyway, they were saying, like, they were getting schadenfreude, basically, from seeing people who were, like, got baited into buying fairy cards, when really it's just fairy tales. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking two things, first of all. One, how do you not have any fairies in your fairy tale set?
Well, there's not very many... Well, I don't know. Not at least like the major ones. There's not very many that are like specifically fairies. It's like Little Mermaid. I mean, just thinking about the major ones. Again, we have like 20 feet worth of fairy tales out there in the list.
Right.
But like, off the top of my head, I can't think of one with like a fairy dominant like roles. You know what I mean?
How did they get the name fairy tale then? Is the idea you're just in a fairy land?
It probably has to do with fae, yeah.
Gotcha.
Like the other realms and stuff like that.
Gotcha. I still, even so, I didn't necessarily think, if you told me we're going to do a fairy tale themed set, I would not necessarily say, oh, fairy tribal is going to be a focus. But I would be surprised if there were just no fairies at all. That seems crazy to me.
I think there probably will be.
Maybe they're just trying to emphasize, hey, fairies aren't like the end-all be-all of this set.
It says, reports coming from Wizards is that there might not even be.
I could be wrong. I thought Mark Rosewater specifically said something like, there are no fairies.
Yes.
And we'll never print another fairy again.
I don't think that's true.
Maybe not that last part. But anyway, so that's one thing. And then the other thing, I don't see how could Wizards not foresee this? Sometimes it just reminds me like what a small company they are, really. Small as in like number of people working on things.
Yeah.
Because it seems like such an obvious oversight. Your very first promotional material is covered in fairies, which were a very popular creature type. Of course people are going to get all
hyped
riled
about
up
fairies,
about that. Yeah. How's that not going to happen? I feel like if you had like 4 people look at that, somebody would have been like, hey, do you think maybe we should like not have such an emphasis on fairies on this thing?
I don't know. Working in where I work for my actual profession, you go when you're like you said, when you're together.
Oh yeah. And
you just have this blinders. You know what you're doing.
It's like hive mind, but not in a good way. It's like you all become like one.
We know this thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we're intimate with it and we work with it every day.
And then you show somebody, one person who hasn't seen it before, and they're like, hello? What?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
So I wondered if they even showed it to anybody before, like outside.
Because it really isn't the same as, their product, the actual cards, where they do run it through the ringer quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So my first prediction, you're talking about the 12 princesses. I would make a prediction that you're going to see very few, if any, of those more obscure fairy tales represented. Because I think they're really just going to hit the high notes.
Yep. So...
especially first at-bat. And I'm using Innistrad as kind of my model here, where they really went for sort of the low-hanging fruit of, like, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, werewolves, all of that stuff is what they really hit on.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that would be smart to do because I remember watching a video early on when I was getting back into this magic land I'm in now.
Yeah.
Talking with it was Mark Rosewater talking about design and people's ability to recognize things and like get stuff, and they talked about the Trojan horse card.
A crow and horse.
Yep. The crow and horse.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Where they were going to change the horse to be something different. It was something not a horse.
Right. They wanted to make it more their own thing.
Yeah.
And not rely so much on the horse. So it was like a crow and tortoise or something like that.
Yeah, something ridiculous. A crow and bunny. And people just weren't getting it. Like, they didn't understand. But even with like the mechanic, it was like the mechanic was like infiltration almost.
It was the same thing. You give this thing to your opponent, and you spawn a 1/1 soldier every turn or something like that.
Yes, exactly. And people weren't getting it because they didn't have that cultural recognition of Trojan a horse.
Right.
So I think you're right. They'll probably stick to the main, like really well known.
You're gonna see
fairy tales.
Little Mermaid. You're gonna see like all the stuff. Little Red Riding Hood will be a thing. Like
yes, Big Bad Wolf.
Three Little Pigs actually might be.
It could.
Or at the very least, I can definitely see a like legendary wolf of some kind who like destroys lands or something like that.
Yeah, Billy Goats.
Sorry, we're getting into the next segment.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, shush. Billy Goats, Gruff. Is that right?
Yep.
The 3 Billy Goats. Yep.
There'll be one about a troll under a bridge. Yeah, absolutely. Like so, that's one of my predictions is that you're gonna see all the big hits and nothing really too obscure.
Right.
Which kind of, it's interesting because I think it does put a limit on how much you can do. Like, Innistrad's interesting because first at bat, they went with all, like I said, the low-hanging fruit. They knocked it out of the park. It's one of the most popular sets of all time. They came back to Innistrad, and already in that second time they came back, they had to do a very different kind of horror. They did cosmic Lovecraft horror with this gothic city, like clues of like some otherworldly thing, and then Emrakul shows up. So I think in a weird, they've already kind of used up all the juice from Innistrad, really, which is fine. You don't have to keep coming back to the same place. But it feels like Throne of Eldraine might have the same thing going on. That would be my prediction, is that it'll kind of be like a one-hit wonder. Maybe. The only issue is they came back to Innistrad, not because they had more to do with it, really, but because it was so popular. It's the same reason we get a Marvel movie every 38 minutes on average.
Prince money.
Yep.
Unless there's something major going on with some character that would have longevity through sets, I really see it only as a one-time. And maybe, like... Yeah, I can't imagine going back to it a lot. Again, like for story reasons.
Yeah.
Unless again they have thought out years to come already and have already started to plant the seeds of a character story arc.
That's possible. I'm not entirely sure though. Like my guess is because the thing is like with War of the Spark, their big ongoing story over 3 years that finally paid off with War of the Spark. Like, they're only just now getting information that was an effective move.
Yeah.
So I think now they're probably sitting down and be like, that was awesome. What's the next one going to be? So I think it'll be a minute before we really see another thing like that.
And I think when you do a set or a story that is in a very confined theme...
Like conceptual space.
Yes. It's very hard to branch from that because then it starts becoming something... different over time because you can only do the same things so many times in different ways before you start to break out from it, like the slivers issue, right, with the new slivers.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, wait, that's not fairy tale. What are you doing? Putting future stuff in here. Why are you putting Phyrexians on Eldraine? Well, that could be cool. But anyway.
Is that another bold prediction?
Well.
That would be too bold, in my opinion.
No. Eldrazi.
I was going to say, you know what, though? Because that pisses me off a little bit. Like, I love Zendikar as a world, and I think a lot of players do. Zendikar was very popular. It was the way it was pitched is like, this is like Adventureland. This is like Indiana Jones land, and it had trap cards. It had amazing treasures, like huge, amazing artifacts that you could find. Allies, which is like you're teaming up and you're going on this adventure. They had quests. Have you played with any quests? No. So quests are enchantments that give you a mission, and you put quest counters on it whenever you do it. And once you get to a certain amount, you've accomplished your quest, and you get some huge benefit as a result. All kinds of really cool stuff like that. And then the last set of that block was Rise of the Eldrazi, and all of a sudden it turns into Cthulhu Monsterville, and just sort of that's all Zendikar has been since then. It's just been like monsters attacking this place. It's like, but I liked cool Indiana Jones Adventureland. Mm-hmm. Why do we need to disrupt it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The only set that they've really done a good job, like, they've consistently come back to, and it's been solid each time, has been Ravnica.
Yeah. Well, because it's so huge, too. There's a lot you can do there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different guilds and a lot of different players, a lot of different moving pieces, and it's not confined to a theme other than Metropolis.
Metropolis and guilds.
So it's very sandboxy.
Yeah, very much so.
What I was going to say while you were... Because I was definitely listening. I was 100% listening the entire time you were talking, and I appreciated it, and it was very good and insightful, and I learned a lot. But I was also thinking... talking about...
What if all of that was wrong?
No. I was thinking about more predictions for this set, which were thinking about like artifacts they could do. Which if they have a sword and a stone artifact, that'd be cool.
That's a really good. I almost guarantee. Now you say that, I almost guarantee that's going to be a thing.
And it has to be something mechanically that's happening. Okay, we have to talk about other stuff. But okay, so that's it. They'll have pretty cool equipment cards. I wonder if sagas might be a thing. I don't know how they would use that. Because sagas aren't really... I don't really see many. There's not many, is there?
It's just Dominaria. That was the first place they were introduced.
Yeah.
You know what? That's actually a super good prediction.
Because you could use the story mechanic of a saga... Or like, because it'll be like because it's kind of the way that I see how sagas work is kind of like a story is happening, and then something happens as it goes. So it'd be interesting to see could you do a fairy tale-esque saga but call it something different?
Or you might even be able to call it a saga and just has different flavor.
Yeah.
So I want you to Google something for me right now.
Okay.
Google Throne of Eldraine card frame.
So I'm looking at the one that you showed, and the frame it looks like the three bears and Goldilocks, and she's holding a bear trap over her arm. And then the frame at the bottom looks like a book, a storybook.
Yep. And there's two versions of it. There's like a more traditional looking card, and then there's like, I think what's going to be like the masterpiece of this set is very much more ornate and florid. Mm-hmm. And this is the type of cool, weird card frame that feels saga-esque. Like, this is clearly not a saga because it's a creature, but clearly there's something going on here like that.
Right.
I think the only thing stopping sagas from being part of this set is the fact that we just did it not too long ago. Otherwise, I think it would be such a good fit. Well,
I think it would be something similar, but obviously not like a story, like a lore thing, or
this is going to be like how Infect. No, not Infect. This is like how Undying was like a continuation or a modification of Persist. It's like same general idea, but with its own twist. That's a good prediction. I got one more prediction before we should move on to our other thing, and it's to do with what I think will be a reprint of a card. So every set, every expansion, they always look and see, are there any good reprints we could do that match thematically? And I think there's one that will definitely be here, and that is called Turn to Frog.
Oh, well, that makes 100% sense.
Yep, it's 1 in a blue. It turns a creature into a 0/1 frog or a 1/1 frog. A blue frog. But we know, looking at the art, that there is
a frog one,
one where it's like a frog on a table. You can see a human-sized crown nearby. So I think that is that card. I think we're going to see Turn to Frog. This is just such an obvious reprint. Mm-hmm. Okay, but speaking of art and speaking of the cards, We're going to continue our discussion, and we are going to design a card. You son of a bitch.
Bam, 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 bam. Is it Flavor Town?
Design
No.
a card.
Oh yeah.
We're going to design a card, which is actually something that I've been interested in doing for a while, and we did it once, kind of
Tybalt.
on a whim. We were talking about Tybalt, yeah.
Tybalt.
It was like, how would we design Tybalt? And you just suggest we do that on the fly. And we
Yeah.
did that. I had a few people contact me and say, hey, that was actually really cool. So it is something that I'd like to get into more. Not because I think I'm a brilliant card designer, but just because it's fun, and I think it's
Yeah.
fun to listen to. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be looking at some of the art that's been spoiled, because that's all that's really been spoiled so far from Throne, and try to make cards based on what we think the art is going for. You're shaking your head already.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. This is going to be painful. And I'm going to try to go to my happy place and breathe in deep. And okay, I'm ready.
First of all, do any of these pieces of art that we're looking at, do any of them tell you immediately, like, what's the fairy tale they're going for?
I just scrolled past everything and went down to that sick-ass gingerbread man.
Yep, that's the same one it's the only one I've been thinking about, is the gingerbread.
God, it's so messed up.
It really
is messed up.
In
This
a lot of
gingerbread man is like the size of a man.
Yep. He's
And-
bursting out of a window.
He does not look like a cute gingerbread man. He looks like his head was smeared upwards
Yeah.
and cut off, and he doesn't have really eyes. It's just like thumbprints of where somebody
Really
pushed
big
in
thumbprints.
of his eyes, and his mouth is just a frothing,
It looks
nasty.
It looks wrong. That
it
looks
looks
wrong.
very wrong. Anyway,
There's a grandma in there. It looks like he did something bad.
and
also,
he's like knocking a pie off.
he
a window.
stepped on the pie on the way out. What's that
Well,
about?
He was an ass.
I
Anyway.
hate all desserts,
Except me. I shall be the only one.
and you can't catch me. So, you're designing a card based on the fairy tale of the gingerbread man. What is this card? I've already got some ideas myself.
I can't stop looking into his maw.
Do you want me to share what I've got so far?
Go for it. I'm going to be of no use during any of this.
So I think we can collaborate on this.
Okay.
I think, first of all, I think it should be an artifact or an artifact creature, because it's an artificial creature. This is a constructed creature. And honestly, I think, because the thing is, it's an artifact that gets brought to life.
Yes.
That's an important part of the fairy tale. So I
Pie
think,
tokens. Sorry.
well, what I was going to say is, I think it should be, because they've done this from time to time, an artifact that becomes a creature sometimes. I think
Okay,
that's a very
gotcha.
natural place for the gingerbread man to be. And because they're making the push to have colored artifacts, I think
Yes.
this artifact should have a color. And I've got one in mind. But what would you, if you were going to have gingerbread man be a color, what would it be?
Well, he's got a frothing white mouth, but I don't think white's the right color.
No, I don't. Look at this deranged face. There's no way he's white.
He's either black or red.
I would say red. Because the big thing about him is his speed, right? You
I
can't catch
suppose
me.
so. Maybe
And-
he has haste.
Exactly. You see exactly where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So he has haste. Also, he's just in general very chaotic and impulsive. The whole myth is just he's just taunting people. You can't catch me.
Yeah. He's a goblin.
He is, basically. So I think he's a red artifact that becomes a creature sometimes. Now the question is, what turns him into...
Blood.
Well, I was going to say, I think there's a very simple way you could do it. He could just have like a mana activation cost.
Yeah.
Like you-
Fire.
Yeah,
Make him.
exactly. So you tap some red mana, he becomes an artifact creature. And I think they made him big in this image because he's a big boy. He's a big artifact creature.
You think so?
Yeah, because when you've got an artifact that's not always a creature and you have to make it into one,
Yeah, they're always...
you need to have a motivation to do it. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
like, I'll just play a creature. So I think he's like, maybe a 3-mana artifact that you pay some red mana and he turns into a hasty big boy. And so maybe he's like let's say 4-mana artifact that you can pay red, and he becomes a 5/5 creature with haste until end of turn.
All right.
The only thing
allow it.
the only piece that's missing from and I don't think all of these fairy tales are going to have all the pieces of the myth in them.
Yeah.
But there might be something where if he dies, he gets eaten, you know? I don't know what that would be.
Well, another thing, too, is this is still throwing back. I'm looking through these cards right now, and I'm trying to figure out which one would be an enchantment card. And I'm wondering if that Seb McKinnon Beautiful one isn't an enchantment aura or an enchantment of some sort. Because I feel like with a fairy tale themed, you would have some sort of... there'd be enchantments would be a thing that would be very present.
Yeah, very much so. It might even be like flipping our minds back for a second to predictions. Enchantments might be like a heavy theme. They might even have some kind of mechanic associated with them.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. They might bring quests back. I mean, quests are very fairy tale-esque.
True. So yeah, of course, my favorite art that's been released so far is the Seb McKinnon's.
Could you describe that? Because it is just gorgeous.
It's too pretty to describe. You're just gonna have to Google it because I can't talk about it other than we talked about how the logo is so versatile.
And here's a good example of it.
Here's a good example of it with the right dead center is the logo in the form of a landscape with the castle turrets in the background.
And there's clearly a veil of magic being parted, and that gives us the bottom spike of it, and it's so good.
So that little window of the fan of the Planeswalker logo or Magic's logo is surrounded by all this foliage, and sweeping over to the left is this, I guess, fairy. There's your fairy or some mystical spirit holding a man who's a knight or a king who's fallen asleep. He's bitten an apple, which is Snow White-esque.
There's a few apple things going on in this art.
And so it's to me, this does not say creature. To me, this doesn't speak to me creature, right? There's nothing about it that's very creature. It's not very active.
Well, if you just look at the focal point is the logo.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't if the only active creature here is this Fae, but they're off to the side, so they're not the focus.
So to me, this seems like some sort of half. I have no idea. I feel like it has to be an enchantment or some sort of sorcery because it's not an instant either.
You want to hear my thought about it?
You think it's a creature?
Nope.
You think it's nothing?
I think it's promo art.
You think it's promo art?
Yep. I think whenever they have that's not entirely true.
No, it's not true.
Because Omnipotence has the Planeswalker logo secretly in there. You may be right.
Bold prediction.
It's an enchantment?
I don't know. We'll fucking see.
Yeah, we're out of Future Sight now, so we don't have to make any more predictions.
Truth, but I am doing it anyway.
I was going to say, don't let me interrupt. This is still a good exercise either way. If you were going to make a card based on this, what would it do?
It would tap creatures. It would have creatures be tapped or something, just because of the sleeping thing of it. Mm-hmm. So it's everybody's asleep unless you do X, or just all creatures are tapped.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. End. Might be another reprint, by the way. Sleep is another card that exists.
There you go.
Cool. Let's see. There's that. We're looking right below that on this page. There's some kind of female knight figure, and people have said that this is somebody Kenrith, which is a planeswalker. Yes, almost certainly. This looks like Rowan Kenrith. She and her partner Will Kenrith were printed in Battle Bond. I think Battle Bond. In her original art, she's wearing red. She's got flowing blonde hair. She's got a sword with some interesting jagged designs at the bottom, intertwined designs. And we're seeing something that looks very reminiscent of a lot of that stuff here. So almost certainly that's going to be one of our big planeswalkers. Maybe this is her native plane. I can see that being a thing. What else?
I don't know, man. There's too many things. I can't design.
I'm glad that you and I both wanted to look at the gingerbread man. I also heard somebody say if you scroll up, there's it looks like land art of trees and these willow trees, and they've got globes of fire in them.
Maybe I went too far. Yes, I see it now.
So I've heard people say, and this makes a lot of sense, that this will be a reprint of Grove of the Burn Willows, which was first printed in Future Sight. And so we might see, and that was the only one style of that card. So we might see a cycle of that, which would be interesting.
I was looking at the Lady in the Lake one.
Yep.
And I would hope that would be like tutoring for artifacts card.
Yeah,
that would be an artifact tutor.
That would make sense. Like it definitely looks like some kind of mer creature.
Yeah.
So if I were designing this, I would say this is a merfolk creature. Yeah, that tutors an artifact in some way.
Yeah. I'm good at it now. Let's stop there because I don't think I can do any more.
You don't think you can top
peaked.
That?
I think I peaked.
All right.
Honestly.
We can call that.
Because the other ones are too, obviously they've got some land art in here.
Yeah.
Which is very pretty.
Can we do the one where somebody's baked into a pie?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's do
done?
it. Pie tokens!
Okay, yeah. Put a 1/1 pie creature token into play.
I want a pie token!
Then you could really have the color pie going on. Whackity smackity wow. Are you thinking?
I'm missing something. What does that mean? What is that in reference to?
What? The color pie?
Color pie, yeah.
Well, that's the name for like the 5 colors of magic, the color pie.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Now you know. Yeah, the idea that you've got these wedges of colors, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Today you learned.
I didn't want to.
I don't want it. I never wanted it.
That knowledge.
All right, let's call it there. We can speculate.
But the pie. You wanted to talk about the goddamn pie.
So we're
gonna do what you want to.
I heard the bell go off there.
No. We should talk about what you want to talk about, Kenny. The pie.
I don't want it.
Talk about the pie, Kenny.
So this art, we see somebody, kind of looks elven, loading a big pie into an oven, and there's a blackened, clawed hand in the pie. So somebody's getting cooked in a pie.
Hell yeah.
So I think this is a destroy a creature.
Turn them into pie tokens.
And then put a pie token into play. And you can sacrifice a pie token to get 1 mana of any color.
Red, so you can make your gingerbread artifact. We found a combo!
That's why the pie is being stepped on in the gingerbread man.
Exactly! We've done it. We've solved Throne of Eldraine. You're welcome, everybody.
We cracked the code, wizards.
We cracked it. Pies. It's all about pies. Pie tokens.
Maybe it's about pi 3.14159. Pi 3.14. Add those together.
You get 8. What are you talking about?
Which is the mana cost of Nicol Bolas, Planeswalker. Planeswalk into a pie. An Eldrazi pie.
Pie-drazi.
We have to stop this episode now.
I think it was wonderful.
It was very good.
And you did a really good job, and you're really smart and thoughtful.
This is sarcastic.
It's not. It's genuine. It's coming from my heart.
It's dripping with sarcasm. You laughing right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not laughing at all. I'm being so serious.
All right. Oh, God, your face. Okay. So, if you want more incredible content like this, check us out at RedBlueMTG on Twitter. Email us, redmagebluemage@geekspective.com. Talk to me, Kenny, at Wolfmere.
Yeah, only talk to Kenny, because he's the nice and good one. Don't talk to me. But if you really want to, I guess you can find me on Twitter at Rocket Orca.
Very good. And until next episode, I will be representing Counterspell.
And I've got the bolt.
Goodbye!
Goodbye! Also, I've got a pie token. I'm going to make a pie token.